So you want to install your own bathroom exhaust fan, probably because you're tired of the steam building up and condensation forming on the walls. You're probably tired of people smelling up the bathroom and you're like, it's time for a change. In this video, we'll go over a few different items. We'll go over mounting the bathroom exhaust fan in the attic, because that's where we're on the second story. We're going to go over connecting it to existing power, and we're going to install a new light switch. We're going to go over installing a roof vent and the proper way to do that. We're going to go over connecting the bathroom exhaust fan to the roof vent and how that'll look. During this project, you have to keep in mind that you're dealing with electricity, and so always turn off power when working on any circuits. Keep yourself safe, do the research beforehand so nothing bad happens. But buckle up, because we're about to install the bathroom fan. Here is most of the products that I'll be using for this project. I'll go over them real quick. This is the insulated flexible duct that'll connect the exhaust fan to the vent cap. Then I bought this kit over here that includes the vent cap and flexible duct or vent that goes through the roof. That's how I'm going to tackle this. I have a 2x6 that'll go in the attic that will have the exhaust fan attached to it, because currently we only have 2x4s, and the installation manual for this fan calls for a 2x6 for it to attach to. We have down here just electrical components. Those U-shaped staples will be used to secure the wires as needed. Some wire twists, some WAGO connectors, 3, 2, and 5. Switches, receptacles. I have 2 different sets of wires. So this set here is indoor 14 gauge 3 wire. This over here is outdoor wire. It's just some extra I had left over from a previous project. It's 14 gauge 2 wire. I have the new gang box that will replace the existing gang box that's a single gang box. This is a dual gang box. It'll house this new switch. It's a dual command style switch, which has a fan and a light option. This was a little pricey. And then some switch covers, receptacle covers. This is what will be used to hold the wire in place that connects to the exhaust fan. And over here is what this guy says: 4-inch, 25-foot length. It's already insulated. And one thing that I'm missing here that'll be helpful is tape, some duct tape that'll go around this flexible duct and connect to the vent, and it will also connect to the exhaust fan. One item I forgot to include were these screws that I will use to secure the 2x4 to the 2x6 when I'm in the attic. Now I'm going to measure how far away I want it from this wall. This is the exterior wall here, and this wall. This is the other exterior wall. So I'm going to measure about where I want the ceiling fan to be installed. I'm going to go to the attic, and then I'm going to measure out this distance, measure out this distance, and then kind of see where my joists are, because I want to attach to one of the joists in the attic. So I'm going to then figure out where I want that fan after I make that measurement up there, and then poke through, and then basically cut away from the attic side down below after I poke through and verify that's where I want that fan to be. I got a piece of scrap cardboard, and basically this is where I think I want the fan. So I wanted to kind of represent it before I made anything permanent, kind of see where it's placed and if I like that placement. So I just measured, it's about 3.5 feet off of this wall here to the edge of this scrap piece of cardboard, and then it's about 6 feet from this wall to that edge. I think this is where I want the fan to be placed. I think it's not directly above the shower, and it's not centered between the doorway, but it's centered between the shower. Alright, so I'm up here in the attic. You can see the insulation. And it's best to, I believe, not touch the insulation, because once you kind of disturb it, it's not laying as evenly, even though this isn't really laying evenly. But I believe it's best to leave it where it is, because it loses its insulation value once you kind of step on it or move it around. But I'm going to have to kind of get back there and measure 6 feet from this edge over here and 3.5 feet from this edge over here. And keep in mind that the wall cavity is about 4 inches. So if you're measuring from, that's the outside exterior wall right there. So if I'm measuring from that, I'm going to add 4 inches onto 3.5 feet to get 3 feet 10 inches. And that'll be 6 foot 4 inches. And hopefully I don't fall. Okay, so 6 feet is in between this support and this support. It's about, you can see, that's 7 foot. And so we're around right in here. So I'm going to clear that away and see what we're working with. So I took a step back and I measured. That's about where I want to be. I'm going to take a nail and I'm going to basically push the nail through the ceiling right around there. I'll get a closer look at that. But I had to clear the insulation away. I didn't do a very good job of keeping it nice and neat, but yeah, that's the gist of it. All right, so I'm going to poke a hole right about here. Right through. So it's not close to the joist because I'm gonna come out. So maybe right around here. I'll stab it in. Alright, I did the deed. It's right there. I'm gonna go check and see where it is downstairs. Not bad, not bad. That's where it came out. And as you can see, as the nail came through, it did move some paint. So it would be, if I did this in the wrong location, it would be a little bit more difficult to fix than just a little bit of plaster. Either way, you would have to use some plaster and then paint it. But see, a little bit of paint came off with it with some drywall as it came through the ceiling. So it might be better to go up through the ceiling and then find the nail. That might be the better way to do it. The nail is about 3 foot 9 inches from this wall and about 6 foot 9 inches from that wall. So I was close. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to center the fan on that nail and then put it right up against the joist that it's closest to in the attic, which is right around here. I have everything situated. I have a sawzall, I think that's what that's called, a drill to get the to secure the 2x6, the fan to trace out. I have my pencil in my pocket, the hammer's still up here, the 2x6 is right there. I'm gonna go over there and basically secure the 2x6, trace out the fan, cut the fan through, and then secure the fan. To secure the fan to the 2x6, I'm going to use these ring shank nails, and they look to be almost 2 inches. And the ring shank have the edges on them, so when they go into the wood, those edges hold on to the wood. One item to note is that I cut this 2x6 to just be larger than the fan. So what's going to happen is I'm going to secure this 2x6 to the 2x4. Actually, the fan is upside down. Like that. And so screws will go in here, and this fan will be set in place. And one thing to note is I'm not sure how important this is, but the way this wood was cut, since it's in the attic and the attic is gonna be hot and cold and hot and cold, I'm thinking this guy might bow over time. So what I'm thinking of doing is putting one screw here, maybe one screw in the center, doing the same thing down here, and then in the center here. Sucks that there's a knot here, but whatever. But that's what I'm thinking of doing. What I'm going to do now is go into the attic and then place the fan. Well, first I'll install the 2x6 and secure it to the 2x4 in the attic. And then I will trace the fan out where I want to have it cut through. And then this trash bag is here to kind of catch all the debris. Hopefully it stays up, and hopefully that piece of drywall doesn't fall down into the bottom of the bag and then it poofs everywhere. But hopefully this kind of captures everything. So I decided to put 5 screws. And you want to make sure that the screw is flush so it doesn't get in the way of the fan. You can see I slipped a few times. But yeah, this isn't going anywhere. Then I can trace the fan out. So I traced it out, started cutting, and then I can only get so close to the 2x6. So I think I'm going to finish it inside the bathroom, and then I'll widen it if I need to. But that's kind of as far as I've gotten up here. I've cut through the ceiling from the attic into the bathroom, and it looks like I did not go outside the trash bag boundary. So hopefully all the dust is still inside. So this is what it looks like from down here. I am going to use a knife to finish the edge around. So even though I put the trash bag and secured it to the ceiling, after I took it down, I still made a pretty big mess. So this is the fan in the ceiling. It fits pretty nicely. I'm gonna basically make the bottom of the fan flush with the finished surface of the ceiling. I'm gonna use these nails to secure basically in these flanges on both sides, in the top and bottom. I'm gonna use 4 nails total. You probably shouldn't use ring shank, but I have them left over from a previous job. And this is my house, so putting them in, I know I'm gonna have a tougher time getting them out, but that's okay. It's in the attic. Okay, so the screws are in. Hopefully it's level with the, or flush with the ceiling, because I didn't really check. should do that. You should check if it's flush with the ceiling, the bottom of the fan. So hopefully, you know, it's good. Fingers crossed. So it is flush kind of on this corner over here, and then it's sagging a little bit in this corner, and then it's above the surface of the finished ceiling on this side.
Before doing anything electrical, remember to turn off that circuit in your circuit panel. Turn the breaker off.
Let me explain the situation that we have. I would like to install a bathroom fan here in the ceiling, kind of in the center, right around here. And I'm going to power it off of the light switches that power this light. We have a 3-way light switch setup. So the power comes in here, and then the other switch is over here, and it powers this light. And so what I want to do is I want to tap off of the power that comes into this box, put in another switch, and then have that power the fan. I think it's important before you begin to understand how your light switch is wired. Right now I do have the power turned on, so I'm not going to really put my fingers in there, but I think it's good to, one, see how many conduits or wires are coming into this box here, into this gang box, and then figure out which one's the power, which one goes to the light, which one goes to the other switch, if there is another switch, and then to actually draw out how it's working. I'm gonna trace out this gang box after I remove this switch so it's not in my way. I already turned off the power. And then I'm going to trace it out. I'm going to make sure that this top is level. I have a little level right there that I'll put on top of this box, make sure it's level, trace it out, and then I will cut out this side here, and then I'll see how the box is secured. I already know the stud is on this side, but what I think I'll end up doing is just using this small crowbar to kind of pry that box out. I think it's held on by nails probably up top and at the bottom, and then I'll take it out of the wall and then secure this one in there. This is what it looks like with the switch removed. We have the cord or the wire in the back right coming in. That's the four wire going to the other switch. We have the power coming in the back left, and then up at the top, this one comes out. It's feeding the light. I traced out the part I'm gonna cut. Basically just trace that box. I think I got lucky. I just cut through and the stud, another stud is right there, right on the edge. So I think this box will just fit inside this cutout. What I'm doing is I'm just pushing the crowbar back in there and kind of moving it away as I go. And eventually I'll be able to break it free. Oh, there goes the bottom at least. It was indeed a pain to get out. The wires fought me a little bit, but it worked. I got it out. You can see how it was secured into the wall on that side. And be careful not to damage any of the drywall around the cutout, because getting this thing out, it's a tight squeeze there, but not impossible. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this wire up into the attic. I'm going to drill a hole in the wall at the very top, and it'll probably be like 2 layers of 2x4 is what I'm thinking. And I'll drill through them down so I can get inside this wall cavity, and then I'm going to kind of snake the wire through. The goal is now to find where I need to run the wire to down the wall. So I think it's going to be under this insulation over here. I took measurements where the wall is from the unit, from the exhaust fan. I took measurements, and it's going to be somewhere over in this spot. So I'm going to measure the distance. I measured here, here, and then the hypotenuse. And I took those measurements, and I'm going to drill down into the wall and then fish the wire into there and get it through that new cutout I made. So lucky for me is I found the top of the wall, and there's already a hole going down into the wall. So I'm going to check. I'm going to leave my light on top of that hole and then go back into the bathroom and see if that goes into the same place that I'm trying to go in. I'm going to look for that light. Okay, so there it is. I left my flashlight. I'm going to go downstairs and see if I can see that light down the hole. Let's see if we can see that light. There it is. Hello. Tracing out my wires, I was wrong. These go to the switches, to that other switch. This goes to the light, and this is actually the power coming in from above. So the power comes in, these 2 wires go down, excuse me, and then they go down, and then they cross over there's a hole in the 2x4, and then it comes up, attaches to the light, and then it goes over there, goes to the light switch. All right, guys, no joke. I come down from the attic, and the wire actually came in to the bathroom itself. I thought that was crazy and awesome. So I drew out how the wires are all going to be connected. It's a little different than how I have my box set up over there. My power in is right here, my fan is over here, and my light is over here. But for the most part, the connections will all still be the same. So my power coming in, my hot, which is represented by the brown wire, is coming in and going to this WAGO connector. It's a 3-wire connector, which powers the fan and goes over to my light switch that's in the same box. So that is the 3 connector. And then the grounds are all going to be connected as well. So one from the fan, one from the light above the mirror, one from the switch here, one from the 3rd switch that's located on this wall, and then the power ground is coming in. And that's going to be connected by this 5 connector, which is here. And then I have the neutral coming in to this 3 connector, one from the fan and one from the light. Now, one thing that I didn't represent is this connection here that I circled, where the 3rd switch comes in with its neutral and connects to the hot wire of the light. And so that can be a 2 connector right there. Or you can use a wire nut like one of these. So that is an option. And that's kind of how everything will be set up. All right, so I prepped all the wires here. I'm going to keep this amount of blue wire here and then put it behind this wall in case the switch ever has to move, or, you know, I want there to be some leeway in it. And having this extra wire in the wall doesn't cause any issue or present any danger. So I'm going to put the blue wire in the wall, and then I'm going to put this box in, make sure all the wires are fed down these slots. There's 2 on this side, 2 on that side that I'm going to use, and these little levers here kind of, see how it moves a little? Those are going to lock the wires in place after I feed it through. It's going to keep them stable. It's not perfect, but it'll do. I think this is as good as it's going to get. I was able to get as much of the wires as I could through into the gang box. I had to extend some of the ground wires using crimp sleeves. And then I just cut up some spare wire and connected the grounds. And then all the other wires, the neutral and the hot, and then the 3rd wire for the switch and the fan, they're all long enough. It's just the grounds weren't long enough. From the previous install, I had to cut them because those grounds were all the way in the back of the box and there wasn't any extra wire in the back of the wall, so I had to extend those grounds. I'm not sure if that's allowed, so maybe it's something to look into. I'm going to start connecting all the wires now. I have the 3rd switch over here. I guess it's more of the 2nd switch, but they call it a 3-way switch. I have right here, this goes to the light fixture above the mirror. And then right here, I have incoming power, which I thought originally was that light switch, or the light above the mirror, but it's not. This is the incoming power, comes from the attic. And then here I have the fan wiring that is newly installed. One thing to note are these lips in the back here. Sometimes they can act as like a little saw on these wires. Because right now I don't have all these wires like sheathed coming into the box. Like the sheath, there wasn't enough wire for all of the sheathing to come in. Like for example, this blue sheathing came into the box, but these ones didn't because the wires weren't long enough. But I was able to get the actual wires inside the sheathing into the box. But these little gray teeth, almost like these little levers that keep these wires in can sometimes act as a little saw on the protective covering of these wires and then expose them. So when you are, messing around with these wires, make sure to do your best not to cause any rubbing on these teeth holding in these wires, because that can expose the copper underneath. At least that's what I've heard. Right now it's pretty okay, like nothing is exposed, and hopefully over time that won't happen. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on. And then this one down here, I actually broke a little trying to get those wires in, but that's how it looks. I'm gonna start right now with, I think, the switch on this side that controls the light above the mirror. And then I'm going to then connect all the ground wires. And then I'll move on to the fan, connecting the power. I think that's probably how I'll attack it. What I'm gonna do, I have this light switch set up. I have that ground coming off. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect all the ground wires and then push it as far back into the box as possible so I can get the ground wires out of the way, make sure that's all taken care of and set back so it's not in close proximity to any of the hot wires. So there's some assurance there. And then I'll go ahead and wire all the I'll wire the other switch for the fan and the light in the fan here, and the other connections. So this is why it's important to review the wiring and all the equipment, because I have a ground here that I didn't realize I have on this switch, but I didn't account for it in my wiring diagram. This is the switch right here. It's a little hard to see, but I don't have a ground coming off going to the junction. So I have this 5-wire connector, but I need 6 connections to it. So I decided to combine the ground wire for the incoming power with the ground wire from the fan, and then I took a piece of scrap, that copper, and I basically twisted all 3 of them together. I'm going to use this crimper so I twisted them all 3 together. I'm going to use the crimper to secure that. I'm going to bend this over the crimper so the crimper can't come off. And then I'm going to connect this wire into this connector for a connection of 5 wires total in this. So I'm kind of pigtailing, in a way, these 2 wires into one connection. Alright, so this is how it turned out. That wire is folded back on top of it. It's twisted on the inside, and it's crimped. I made this ground wire a little bit longer because I had to create this kind of loop at the end here to kind of angle itself into the 5th slot of this connector. So just wanted to point that out. Okay, so I just connected the white wire coming from the 3rd switch. This is the switch that's staying in this box here, but the one that's connected to this switch, I connected the black wire from the light to the white switch, to the white wire from the switch here for this 2 connector. Alright, so what I did here with this 3-wire connector, I connected the light, the fan, and the incoming power here. I added on this hot wire coming in, this black wire, to this switch, and I also added a hot wire coming on to this switch here that I just used some extra wire that I had. And I made sure each are black. I think that's important, and that'll be this connection here. So the power coming in will go to this junction of 3. It'll connect to the switch and then connect to the other switch. I came in and connected the light switches, so it has the incoming power, hot, going to this 3-wire connector, and then to each switch. What's left is connecting the fan and the light wires from the switch to the fan and the light wires from the fan in the ceiling. 2 Wago connectors I wasn't expecting to use are for the light switch. I didn't account for that. So these two wires will get Wago connectors to connect to the black and red wires from the fan in the ceiling. It goes the red wire from the fan in the ceiling to the red wire to the, oh, that's not right. That's the light. The red wire is the light. And then the yellow connects to black, which is the fan. I have everything wired up. The tough part is, this guy is pretty big. The tough part is going to be fitting everything nice and neat inside this box where I feel comfortable, where nothing's really hitting. You can see the wire connections. None of the copper wire is exposed outside of the connectors, which is good, except for the grounds. So everything, you know, there's like maybe a little bit right there that one can get pushed in a little bit, but it's a good thing to check everything one more time before you kind of gently push the switches and the wiring back into the box. So it's just one more time to check everything. I'm also going to turn the power on as it is like this, making sure, you know, the grounds aren't close to really any of the hot wires or anything like that, and just see if the fan in the ceiling works. Okay, so some of the mistakes I made. This switch that connects to that switch, the wires are reversed. So when this light switch is down and the light's off, the other light switch is up and vice versa. So I want to switch the red and the black on these sides so that they're both down when this light is off. Another mistake that I made is I currently don't know why the fan won't turn off, so I'm going to investigate that. So I figured out why this guy wasn't turning off. It was because I didn't have the light tray or the plug in. In order to have the programmable switch working, this light tray needs to be in. Now, whether or not the light bulb needs to be in or not, I'm not sure, but I put the light bulb in just in case. And now the thing is working. All right, so I redid this switch so it will now face the same direction as the other one over there. Then I'm going to push everything back. One thing to note is I did screw in all the screws fully, so nothing is sticking out and possibly poking anything. So I'm going to push everything back. I'm also going to screw in these guys. This is actually, there's little levers on the back that fold and then get secured or tightens and closes in on the drywall as this screws in. But it's so tight in this wall already, I was thinking I didn't need it. So I'm just going to screw these in, make sure it's flush so I can put that faceplate on. And then if the lever's set or not, I don't really care because it's secured on both sides, like press fitted into the wall between two 2x4s on each side. So okay, I just ran back up from downstairs after I turned the circuit on. The light's working. I didn't turn on the fan yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of test around at least the surface and see if there's any faults. So after I uncover this wire, and then I'm going to prepare it to attach to the fan. I'm going to use these wire twist covers to kind of cover those exposed wire ends. And then this guy will attach to this here, And this will attach to the fan and be secured so the wire won't be loose. And all those connections will be inside there. So nothing will be exposed up here. This is how it's going so far. I have the wires stripped. I have the ground attached. The connecting device is holding the entire wires in place. And then I'm going to make the connection with the wire twists and then put it all on the fan. Okay, so this is how it turned out. Twisting all the wires on. And then it's going to be attached to all be inside here. And that'll be it for the electrical up here. And then I'll secure the wire as it runs over there. I'll secure it to the wood. But man, this has been very tough. I'm limited on space where I am. There's the roof here. It is very hard on my legs. A lot of work. So this is the finished electrical. I have a little bit more line here, just in case this fan needs to be shifted around in the future. And then I secured it there once, and then I'll secure it again once before it goes down into that hole. And then this is what it looks like. And again, the wire is secure here, and it's secure here. And then I'll probably get some expanding foam to put around the perimeter of the fan. And this is so like when the fan's on, it's not pulling in air from the attic into the bathroom through those crevices. Okay, so it actually came with 4 holes, 1, 2, and then 1, 2. I drilled one on the side here and one on the other side here. The instructions to say put 3 nails on each side, but I think 1 will be fine on each side. All right, so I'm here with my friend Trevor. We're gonna do the vent on the roof. This is the setup here. It's kind of a hefty ladder, and then we are going to get up there. I'm too scared of heights, and so I'm just gonna film.
So I'm basically going to be cutting. I'll be cutting this shingle course right here.
Right up against that edge?
Yeah, right up against that edge. So I'm basically going to have a square here.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to have to cut this at all. I'm going to try to have it so that that shingle course lands.
Right at the top?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of whether or not I want to have it land right at, yeah, I do want to have it land right at the top.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
And just a little bit above the bottom of this shingle course. You don't want to overhang that shingle course. You want to have a little bit of gap right here at the end. And so that'll work out pretty well. I was gonna mark the 11 inches, but I don't want to mark the 11 inches in height. I want to mark, like I currently have the flashing. The next marks I'll do will be what I actually cut.
Okay.
So.
All right, so I found the nail that's going through the roof from the outside where we marked, and it looks good. It's not too close to the joist.
Okay. Yeah, we should have plenty of room if we're centering a, 2.5 inch and some change radius.
All right, so I'm here in the attic. I turned my light off. That's the nail. He pulled it out, and you can see the light. And now he's going to drill from the roof using the 4.5 diameter. You can hear it out there. The 4.5 diameter circular punch, I'd call it, or drill, circular drill bit. That's going to punch that hole needed for the vent through the roof. And I'll be down here to catch it or do whatever I need to do. All right, we made it through.
Hey.
So I am going to pry up this, this layer of shingles. I'm gonna get underneath it to try and get some of the roofing nails that are right here at the top of this shingle course underneath. I'm gonna try to pry those up and get them out of the way so that the flange can fit up underneath.
Nice.
Generally want to I'm going a little far, but I try to pry up the shingles a little bit to either side, well past where we're gonna be, just so that if the shingles aren't stuck down, they'll be less likely to tear.
Yeah, gotcha.
When I went to go dry fit the vent hood into place, I had cut the shingle on either side about like 1/4 of an inch or so, a little too short, so it didn't quite fit into place. And so I was trimming up the shingle just a little bit to make it so it will fit.
Okay.
Okay. It fits like exactly where I wanted it to. There's a little bit extra over here, but it's not a problem because we still have like more than an inch covered
Nice.
at the flashing. It's very snug.
That's awesome.
So very glad with how that turned out.
All right, so right now he's dry fitting it under the shingles, how it should be placed or how we want it to be placed. And he pried the shingles up. And so he's looking at both sides, making sure we have some clearance, not too much.
Like a glove.
And then we're gonna apply some caulk. We're gonna go 2 loops of caulk. And so we're gonna caulk kind of a horseshoe around the vent down through the roof. We're gonna leave the bottom of it open so water can escape out the bottom. And then he's gonna go around and do a second horseshoe shape of caulk around it. And you can apply the caulk generously. You know, the more you put down, I think the better.
I'm trying to stay a bit away from the edge of the flashing, just so that, like, aesthetic-wise, it doesn't really bleed out over there too much.
When you push it down,
Yeah.
looks good.
Yeah.
All right, he just caulked it and he's putting the roof vent in place. And you want to lift up those shingles and you want to slide it into place without kind of ruining that layer of caulk that you just did. So just going around, pushing those shingles down. Then we're going to go around it, nail it in place, caulk the top of those nail heads, and then caulk around those shingles. So he's not hitting them all the way in yet because he's going to place some caulk around those heads and then push them in. He's doing the top right nail. The top left is going to give him a little bit of trouble, but this should work out nicely.
We're doing a final bead of caulk around basically that same U shape or upside down horseshoe, whatever, around the top and the sides, just to help seal the shingle down to the flashing.
Can we also put some adhesive under the shingles we popped up? Like right on that tar line?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking good. The shingles are all being stuck back down.
Yep. So, all the nail heads are sealed up. Here's the finished product. You can see the bead of caulk right here.
This is the vent where it comes through the roof. This is how it looks. This is loose. That's just how it is manufactured. You connect this to the vent that sits on the roof before it goes through the roof, and so this piece is actually stuck inside the vent.
that's above the roof. And the duct will, the flexible duct with insulation around it, it's 4 inches. It'll go around this guy. I'll basically tape the duct on here, and then I'll zip tie the insulation up as high as I can. And then I'll tape it again. And then I will connect the duct down here on this end here. And when it comes out of this vent, you don't want it to make more than 90-degree turn. So it's going to come out here, come up, and attach to the roof vent. But say the vent, instead of it being in front of it, closer to me, and say it was over there, so like right around here, the duct would then turn around and almost do a 180 turn, and that bend would be bad for airflow. So you want it to kind of be the shortest route with a not sharp bend towards the vent. When you attach this duct connector to the fan, this gap is going to be at the bottom. So it's going to attach like this, where this gap is at the bottom. Like that. What I did is I used that duct tape, or that insulation tape, and I taped around the duct, the flexible duct, to that duct connector. And then I'm going to bring up that insulation, and I'm going to zip tie it down here to hold it in place. So what I did is I taped the actual flexible duct to the duct connector, zip tied it, and then I taped the insulation around it as well. I did that at the top right here, all the way around. So 2 layers of that tape, one on the flex, one on the outside of the insulation and casing, and then I zip tied it so to keep the insulation in place. I'm now going to replace this receptacle. It's on a GFCI circuit that's located in the basement, so technically this is GFCI rated, but it's not a GFCI outlet itself. This is just a regular receptacle that I'm going to replace. So you never know what you're going to find in this receptacle. It looks like this guy was loose and it wasn't even inside the back of the receptacle here. But it looks like there's 3 hots coming in, 3 neutrals, and then the ground wires are in the back. All right, so there's 2 sets of wires in the back right corner, and then there's 1 set of wires in the top left coming down, going to this receptacle. So I'm just gonna basically connect the wires using connectors and not in the back of a receptacle. I prepped all the wires here, so I stripped the ends about 1/2 inch, and then I actually sanded down that ground just a little bit because it was covered in like paint and looked like scum, some type of, I don't know what was on it, but I wanted a clean end for this because this is going to connect to the receptacle, and then I'm going to connect all the black wires, connect all the white wires, and then connect to the receptacle. So the hot's coming in, it's going to connect directly to the receptacle. This wire here is going to connect directly to the receptacle, and then it's going to connect the other 2 GFCI receptacles on this circuit. And then I'll do the same thing for these neutrals, and then the ground will connect directly to the receptacle. This is how it looks. I'm going to tighten these screws here on both sides. I have the hot coming in directly down here. I have the other receptacles connected with this WAGO 3-wire connector connected at the top. I have the same for the neutral on this side. I have the ground connected, and I have the main wire neutral coming in. Oh, I didn't connect that yet. That will go down. That'll go down in this slot back here. And then it'll be ready to go back in to the box.